Justin Kaplan Pro is my name. JustinKaplanPro.com is my website. I'm a startup business mentor and a branding strategist that specializes in helping startup entrepreneurs just like you turn your passion, your gifting, your ideas into a profitable and scalable brand, leveraging the power of social media marketing. If you are new to me, welcome. If you're new to me live here on Facebook, I'd love for you to give me a hashtag first time in the chat stream. Whether you're live or whether you're on the replay, I would love to say hello, and my crew would love to make you feel welcome. So let us know if it is the first time you've ever joined in with us, and if you're watching me on my YouTube channel, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and follow along with all the things that I do. Felix, what's up, brother? Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you. So we're talking today about color psychology. This is a fun conversation. You know, I got thinking about all the things that I teach about branding. I have not taught on the topic of color psychology in a very, very long time. I don't even remember the last time that I did talk about this. So I'm excited to share this one with you. We're going to talk through the 12 primary colors that get used in branding this morning. I want to talk about kind of how color psychology affects the mind and affects the influence and the impact that people have when they experience you and your branding and your marketing. So hopefully give you some education on the colors that you've chosen or the colors that you are considering choosing for your brand or for your marketing. But I want to set it up this way. Some of you guys may remember, I think it was, I don't know, it's been 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was like 2015. It was 2016. On an otherwise normal day, the internet, and by extension, the world, lost its collective mind over a picture of an ugly dress that was floating around the world. Y'all remember this? I got a picture of this dress. So y'all remember this dress? This dress like blew the world up. So it's so funny that this thing became this dress became such a matter of dissension and disagreement that it actually got a name. People started calling this Dressgate. Y'all remember this dress? And the whole population of the world was split as to whether this dress was white and gold or whether it was blue and black. And people could not get over. You'd look at this thing on Facebook and you're like, I see a gold and white dress and I see a blue and black dress. So it really boils down to the question is, how does something like this, how could something seemingly so undeniable as color, because we all see color, we think we all see color the same way. How could something so undeniable as color be so broadly disagreed upon? And the answer lies squarely in the intersection of color psychology and branding, all right? Because there's so much emotion. Jamie, good morning to you. There's so much that goes into color psychology, right? So let me just kind of give you a summary real briefly of just color psychology. So what is brand color psychology? Brand color psychology is the study of basically how color impacts the way we perceive brands. Colors have a powerful effect on our emotions, and these emotions play a major role in how we behave as consumers and interact with those brands and with that marketing. Brand color psychology provides it kind of a framework for understanding how and why we interact with the things that we are experiencing in our daily lives. And while the effect of colors, the effect that colors have on our emotions, it'll differ from one person to another depending on a number of personal factors. There are some general guidelines that have been defined as countless color psychology studies have been performed, and that's why I'm giving you these 12 kind of base colors today, and we're going to talk through the psychology of each, because the core psychology of these is pretty consistent no matter who you're talking to and no matter who you're having an experience with. So you probably understand that things like red can evoke feelings of either power or romance. Like red is the color of Valentine's, red is the color of hearts. So a lot of people, when they associate red with love and romance, but then other people can associate red with danger. Other people can associate red with power. Or blue can call to mind emotions such as relaxation, because certain people think of water. Or blue can also be translated to coldness, because other people might think of ice. So what about things like orange or gray or black or even white? And what more subtle emotions do those things convey? And what if you want to convey emotion like hope or joy or peace or harmony? How do you leverage those emotions by choosing the right color? All these things are kind of what goes into color psychology. So since color is among the fundamental stimulus that the human brain has, these questions are important when you are doing branding, and especially when you are doing marketing. So we're going to cover the 12 most commonly used colors in branding and design this morning, along with I want to give you this morning kind of the positive factors of each, like the positive implications that go with each of these colors, as well as some of the potential negative implications that go with each of these colors, because those have to be considered as well. A lot of people will go into, I want to choose this color because this is how I view it, like red, to be powerful. But then you also need to be aware of the negative implications that go with it, just to be cognizant of how certain people may feel, because when it comes to the psychology of color, context matters. I'd love for you to put that in the chat stream. Context matters, all right? Context matters because one color can represent two wildly different feelings. The specific way in which a brand utilizes their colors can literally mean the difference between life and death in your brand, or sickness and health, for example, with the color green, because color green can represent sickness and the color green can represent health. So with that in mind, a solid understanding of your own brand personality and choosing the right color for your brand personality needs to be a well thought out, educated decision rather than just a feeling or a fleeting or random personal preference. All right, so let's start with red. Since red is my favorite color, I love red. Obviously, I use a lot of red in my marketing, and I don't use it by mistake. What should be fun with this is I have three primary colors that I use. My three primary colors are red, black, and silver. I do a good bit of white as well, but primarily my colors are red, black, and silver. Most of the time you see things from me, it's usually a combination of red, black, and silver. But when we're done with this, I'll be able to kind of recap red, black, and silver and what red, black, and silver mean, and you should be able to see me and be like, yep, that's Justin. And so it's kind of cool when you go through this. So first of all, just a cheers and good morning to you. I hope your morning beverage is delicious, whatever it is, and I hope your Thursday morning has been bright and your minds are sharp and your pens are ready to take some notes. All right, so let's start with red, because red is absolutely my favorite color. So red is often referenced in the most powerful, or I'm sorry, red is most often referenced as the most powerful and effective marketing color. It is considered the best marketing color to use to get attention, and because of that, it's important that it be used carefully for branding purposes. Red has been proven to reduce analytical thinking, which is why it's so popular for marketing, because when you reduce analytical thinking, it can turn up the speed and the intensify the way people experience an impulse emotion. So oftentimes red makes people have urgency. And so if it reduces analytical thinking, it can stir up impulse emotions, which is why it becomes an effective marketing color. That's the reason why clearance sale prices are usually put on red tags. In case you didn't realize that. Charity, good morning. Buffy, good morning to you. So from another perspective about red is that athletes that go up against opponents wearing red are usually more likely to lose, because red carries a tone of power. So those guys that are cheering for the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, you have an advantage. All right, but red can carry a tone of power. It can carry a tone of influence. It can carry a tone of dominance. Studies have also shown that students tend to perform worse on tests if they're exposed to red beforehand, because red, after all, is the color of grammatical mistakes. You think about whenever most teachers will go through and mark up a page, usually they're doing so with the red pen. And I think most people do it with a red pen because red stands out against white, so it helps you see the things. But you think about the association with that, right? When students are, every time they get a test back and everything that they got wrong is marked up in red, it creates this subliminal connection that whenever they see red, it's like they're gonna lose or they're gonna perform worse. So you got to be careful about how much a child is exposed to red going into like an exam. Don't let them wear a red shirt, or God forbid, don't tell the teacher to wear a red shirt going into an exam. But it's amazing how color can impact you in that way. Red is also the color of stop signs. It's the color of negative finances, right? So if you are, one of the things that I'll tell people, I actually had a client one time that I was setting up a business for and helping them get their branding and stuff started up, and they were a financial advisor and their favorite color was red. And I asked them initially, what kind of colors do you want to use? And they gave me this blend, and one of which was red. I said, you can't use red. And they're like, wow, that's my favorite color. I love red. I'm like, how often do you want to see red in anything to do with your finances? And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, you got to be careful. So when you're going in the financial market, if you're doing anything to do with finances, you got to use green and blue. All right, you got to be careful with that. So you got to be aware of what those colors mean and what people associate those colors with. So the positive implications of red is power, passion, energy, high energy, fearlessness, boldness, strength, excitement. Red can also be associated with youthfulness. You think about some of the brands that use the color red. Coca-Cola used the color red. Netflix red. Dairy Queen is red. Ace Hardware is red. Lego's red. Virgin Mobile's red. CNN is red. Interesting, isn't it? Power, strength. Yeah, they're going for dominance. CNN is red. Kellogg's cereal's red. Kmart was red. They're not along anymore. Nintendo's red. So there's a lot of these different brands that use red as their primary color. So interesting to think about. That is the color psychology of red. I'm curious to know, those guys that are in here, if you've already done your branding, I'd love to know what colors you've chosen as your primary colors. Put it in the chat stream, if you will. Again, mine are red, black, and silver. I use them each with a fairly equal balance. You'll never see me ever do anything that's all red, like crazy all red. You'll see usually splashes of red or accents of red. So you got to be careful about if you're going to use red, you got to be careful about how much red you use. But I do love red, and I do love red for the perspective of its influence on marketing, as well as power, energy, fearlessness, excitement, strength. That's something that I wanted to embody in my brand. All right, let's talk about blue, because blue is kind of the secondary primary to red, two of the most popular colors. So where red is the color of kind of the body, blue engages the mind. All right, blue is considered serene. Blue is considered calming. Blue is the color of clarity and communication. Blue is a great color for you, Tasha. When you were mentioned to me last night talking about blue, blue is absolutely your color. But blue clarity, communication. Several studies have found that blue has been shown to be the most favorite color among the world's population, and is particularly preferred by men. Absolutely, isn't that interesting? I mean, I started thinking about this, and I started thinking about how many people, especially young people, how many people you ask them their favorite color, and most people say blue. I mean, blue is usually a pretty popular color. So blue is a good one to think about. But you think about the popularity of blue, and especially its impact on men. You think blue is everywhere in our daily lives. Like, it's the color of the sky, it's the color of the oceans, it's the color of the lakes. The fact that blue is such a dominant global preference makes it a great choice for a brand that wants to be non-threatening. Maybe it's conservative, maybe it's traditional. Blue can represent safety. All right, so with blue, it's one of the kind of things where if you decide to associate blue, or if you decide to make blue one of your primary colors in your brand, you're not taking any risks when you call on a shade of blue for your brand identity. Whether it's a light blue, dark blue, or somewhere in between, it is seen as a sign of stability and a sign of reliability. And it is interesting, right? Tasha and I were having a conversation yesterday. She was talking about the fact that majority of her audience tends to be men, and her primary color is a lot of blue. So that's interesting what you attract, right? It's crazy. The other thing to think about blue, though, blue, however, is also the color of sadness and coldness. So you gotta be careful with that, because it is the other thing that's funny. I learned this actually just preparing my notes for this thing. Blue is considered the least appetizing of colors, and is an indicator of spoilage and poison. Some weight loss plans even suggest you eat food off of a blue plate, as you're liable to eat less of it. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was super interesting. So if you are someone who wants to establish trustworthiness, dependable, strength, those kind of things, loyalty, consistency, communication, clarity, those are all good kind of communication features. Blue is an excellent color. If you are in the weight loss industry or have anything to do with food, blue is not a good color for you. Okay, that's just something good to keep in mind. So some positive implications again of blue overall: trust, loyalty, dependability, logic, serenity. Security is a good one too. There's actually a security company that does primary blue. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it. can't remember the name. They do home security, but they're primarily blue. But blue is trust, loyalty, security, dependability. Some of the negative implications of blue would be coldness, emotionlessness, unfriendliness, uncaring, unappetizing, but not much of that. ADT, thank you, Buffy. That's what I'm thinking about. ADT uses all blue. Some other blue logos. Lowe's is all blue. And I used to work for Lowe's. Lowe's is all about dependability, trustworthiness, safety, security. Very, very much makes sense with blue. Facebook, interesting, isn't it? Facebook is all blue. Walmart blue, Vimeo's blue, Pfizer's blue, IBM Computers blue, Ford is blue, Twitter's blue, NASA's blue. Some of those make sense, don't they? Not all of them, but some of them. You're like, yeah, Dell's JB Morgan is blue. I think Internet Explorer is all blue, if I recall. Oreo cookies are blue. I mean, that should seal the deal on blue right there, shouldn't it? But that's color psychology of blue. All right, how many of y'all are using blue in your branding? Throw a me in the chat room if you're using blue. I'd love to know if you're using blue I see all of you putting your colors up here. So Jamie is teal, dark gray, and a hint of gold. I'm not going to cover gold today, but I am going to cover yellow, and I think yellow is similar. Jacqueline's got red, yellow, green, and black for Jamaica. Cat metallics, blue, gold, copper. Love copper. Felix is black and orange, blue and silver for personal. Love that. John leans towards greens and blues. Love it. Love it. All right. Again, cheers and good morning to you guys. We're talking about color psychology and branding. Kind of a fun conversation in it, just to kind of get yourself educated on what these colors mean. So let's go to yellow. So funny thing about yellow is yellow seems to have the smallest fan club. Not a lot of people really love yellow, but I will tell you this: those who do like yellow are passionate about their preference. I've done a lot of branding, done a lot of websites for a lot of different people. I don't get to use yellow often, but man, in the places where I have been able to use it, it can be such a powerful color, man. I have used it in a few different clients of mine, and I've seen it used in a variety of just gorgeous brand designs. So it can be done very, very well. Charity's favorite color is yellow. I believe Celia's favorite color is yellow. So yellow can be beautifully used, but it can also be intense, and it can really be a distraction if it's used in the wrong way. So yellow is widely considered a cheerful color. But too much yellow can also trigger feelings of anger. It can trigger feelings of frustration, of fear, of anxiety. And that's because it tends to be the most difficult color to take in. From a psychology perspective, it's one of the wavelength of yellow is hard to absorb. It's not as easy to absorb like a blue or a green. You ever have those times where you see certain colors and it's like a warm hug. It's just really easy to look at. But then other colors, you're like, oh, it's because of the wavelength of the color. And it's how it's hitting you. So yellow can come across that way. Yellow has been shown to increase metabolism, which is interesting. It can lift self-esteem when it's used correctly because it's a stimulating and it's attention-grabbing color. It's no surprise that it is used for things like traffic signs, advertisements, legal pads usually are yellow, and also certain warning labels that you'll see on things, kind of giving people a warning. If it's not a full stop like red, yellow is slow down and be careful. So you have to kind of think about that and think about how that might be conveying depending on how you're using it. So be very careful with how you use yellow, but yellow can be used beautifully. I've got a few clients that we've used yellow as an accent color. But then I've got a couple other clients that yellow is one of their primaries. But if it's used correctly, it can be spectacular. You just got to be careful with it. So yellow overall, yellow can represent optimism, clarity, warmth. Some of the positive implications of yellow: optimism, warmth, happiness, creativity, intellect. Some of the negative implications of yellow: irrationality, caution, fear, anxiety, frustration. Think about some of the logos that use that use yellow. Subway uses yellow and white, I believe. Best Buy uses heavy yellow. Ferrari is yellow, which is interesting. Hertz Rent-A-Cars, Goodyear's yellow. Sprint uses yellow, Sprint phones. UPS is brown and yellow, but it's more like a brown and gold. Denny's uses yellow. IKEA uses yellow. So kind of a variety there. Not as many logos use yellow though. So that's just one to be careful of if you decide to use that as your primary. Anybody using yellow? I'm curious. I think Charity said it was your favorite color. McDonald's yellow, absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Burger King uses it. Yep. Anybody using yellow in your branding? I'd love to know if you're using yellow. Let's go to orange. So at the crossroads of red and yellow, you're gonna find orange. So orange is a stimulus color, which stirs up feelings of excitement, enthusiasm, warmth. Orange is fun. It's energetic. It's found in the branding of many sports teams because it tends to be kind of an energetic energy color, but not unlike red and yellow. Orange is used to draw attention. Things like traffic cones and a lot of major advertising type of stuff. Consumers tend to associate the color orange with value, which I love. Which is no coincidence that you think about Home Depot. Home Depot's, that is their primary color. And have done a lot of the work with Home Depot in the past. And once you start understanding the psychology of color, you realize why they've chosen orange. Orange can represent courage, confidence, warmth, innovation, friendliness, energy, cheerfulness, confidence. I mean, orange covers a lot of different things. Some of the negative implications of orange would be frustration, can sometimes be conveyed as an immature color, sluggishness or slow, caution, like slow down. You think about orange cones are going to make you slow down. So you think anytime people have an experience with traffic and you're being stuck in traffic, that's why it can be associated with frustration or with slowing down, because anytime you see the orange signs go up or the orange cones go up, you're like, I'm going to be stuck in traffic, or oh, this is going to slow me down. And so that's some of the negative implications, but there's not much negative with orange. Orange is a great color, and orange can be used in a variety of different ways as a primary color or as an accent secondary color. And it's hard to go wrong with orange. It really is hard to go wrong with orange. So some of the orange ones, I think you guys named some of them. I think about Nickelodeon. I think about blogger.com. I think about, can't think of a lot of them actually. Orange Crush. Harley Davidson Motorcycles uses orange in theirs. Yeah, I think Firefox, like Google Firefox browser, uses orange as the orange flame on there, if I recall. So orange, that's some conversation around orange. How many of y'all using orange? I think Felix said you're using orange. It's your highlight color. Yeah, it's a great. I like orange a lot. I would probably imagine if I didn't use red, orange would probably be my second choice. I actually really like orange, and if you use orange in the right way, it really can stand out well. So love that. So Felix is using orange. Anybody else using orange? Cleveland, yep. Yep. You think about some of the sports teams that you love that use orange. Orange is a good color. Good color. Not a lot that you can do wrong with orange. And Kim says, interesting about orange and pink are colors they do not like at all. That's interesting. You know, and it's funny. It makes me wonder why that is the way it is. Like, anybody not like orange? I'm curious. Like, I've had a couple people, like most people love my branding colors. You know, it is the way I use it. Obviously, it's a bit masculine. But most people love my branding colors. Even a lot of, majority of my clients are women. A lot of my clients, like, I love your colors, but I don't want my brand to look like that, obviously, because it's the way I do my brand. But I've had some people tell me, Justin, I hate red. Like, hate it. Cannot stand the color red. And that's because of the emotional history that they have with the color red. There's something that has happened in their life or something they've been experienced to that has given them just a negative opinion of red. So anytime they see red, they just can't stand that. So it's just interesting. It's just interesting. It's interesting how color psychology works. All right. So that was orange. Let's talk about green. So the color green, popular color. Green is one of the easiest colors on our eyes. So it's one of the easiest colors to absorb because it requires very little adjustment when it hits the retina. In case you didn't know that, that's why different colors are easier to look at and other colors are harder to look at because of the way your eyes have to adjust to basically read the color. So green is the easiest because it doesn't require any adjustment when it hits the retina. It's probably when you go outside and you see green grass and green trees. It just feels like a warm hug, right? It just feels good to get outside and just see all that beautiful green. And the more vibrant the green is, like if you're in the tropics, like if you're in a place like me that lives in Michigan right now where it's nothing but gray and snow outside, and then I hop on a plane and go see my girl Jackie in Jamaica, and I step outside and I see all that green. It's like, oh, you just take it in. It doesn't require you to squint or adjust your eyes at all because it just feels good, right? So green feels good, right, Tony? That's what I said. Who hates red? I've had a few people that tell me they hate red, believe that or not. But green is easy on the eyes. John says, I like to be easy on the eyes. No, John, we're not going to talk about you and how easy you are on the eyes. But that's an amazing comment. Oh man, Buffy, right? The trees in Florida, like green feels good. Blue is that same way. Blue is a very much a easy to absorb color. So green is green. No, it doesn't mean it's not noticeable. It just means but I will say something like, I don't know. It's all about how it's feel. I think the biggest reason why red, for example, is a primary marketing color is because the one thing that I said about you, that red reduces analytical thinking naturally. So when it reduces analytical thinking, it stirs up impulse. And it makes people make an impulse decision. Green is more of a comforting color. It's calming, it's restful, it's pleasing. So if you're trying to create some urgency around something, if you're trying to launch something that has a cutoff or has a deadline, you're trying to create some buzz and some appeal, green is not going to create urgency. Green creates a feeling of restfulness and of calm. So it just depends on how it's used. Doesn't mean that it doesn't stand out. And doesn't mean that's not noticeable. It just gives people a different feeling. One of the things that's interesting when I was doing some research on green too is that performers waiting to go on stage or waiting to go on television will often wait in a green room. And that's because it just relaxes your senses before you go out on stage. Green can actually improve vision, which is interesting, and it's used in night vision. Most night vision has a green hue because our eyes can discern the varying shades of green very, very easily. So when people put on night vision, that it makes everything green and it just associates the different tones of green. So it's very easy to see things stand out because our eyes can really see very, very different tones of it very, very easily. Sitting comfortable in the middle of the spectrum, green is the color of balance, which is why it kind of lands right in a nice center of most things. It represents nature. It represents growth. It represents success. People associate success with green. People associate good finances with green. Like everybody wants to see green in their stocks. Everybody wants to see green in their finances, right? Because that means it represents growth and success. But like all colors, green also does have a few negative sides. Green can also represent sickness. Green has been known to be associated with luck, clovers, St. Patrick's Day, that kind of thing. Jealousy can be associated oftentimes with green. So there's just a few things to keep on the lookout for. But overall, green, peaceful, growth, success, health, prosperity, nature, hope can be tied to green. And then some of the negative ones, envy, luck, sickness, boredom can be associated with green, just because it's neutral. But those are some things about green. Hints of green. Green's is a good accent color. Anybody else using green in your branding? I'm curious to know. I think about some of the logos that use green. I think of John Deere. John Deere is very green. BP gas station, Starbucks coffee, Whole Foods Market's green, I believe. Spotify's green, I think, or used to be. Seems like they may have done a logo update. Holiday Inn is green. Kind of different shades of green. Green's a good color though. I like green. Again, the green's one of those ones that it's kind of hard to go wrong with green. But it's not a bold color. It's if you are someone who is bold and wants excitement and wants, energy and action. Green is not a color that's going to convey that. Green is going to convey more of peaceful, safety, calm, restful. Green works great in spas. Green dot, yep. Yeah, things that are more relaxing, things that are more comforting, things that are more safe. That's green. That's where you want to put green. All right. Let's talk about teal or turquoise, depending on how you want to look at it, because teal is a popular color. Turquoise is a popular color. I've got several clients that have used teal and turquoise in their branding. So teal is a transformation color, landing right in the visual spectrum between the security of the calm of blue, the security of blue and the calm of green. So that's where it kind of lands right in the middle of that. That's why I consider it to be a bit of a transformation color, because it blends the blues and the greens. Blue is security, green is calm. Teal inspires clarity of thought. And teal kind of represents communication. It is an inspiring color usually. Teal is usually something that that inspires positive emotion. It's often associated with recharging the spirit or replenishing energy levels, provoking positive thought. Teal conveys outward expression, creativity, also self-expression in a good way. In the marketplace, teal is often found in brands centered around communication, education, media, technology in some cases. It's also an ideal color for cleaning products, because it invokes cleanliness and purity without being too sterile, because it really is a warm color. Teal is very much a transformational color, but it can also, from a negative perspective, teal can also suggest indecision or weakness if it's used in the wrong context. But teal is one of the ones that you can't do a lot of wrong with, because it usually is pretty well received from men and women, young and old. Not too many people that don't like teal. I'm curious, anybody out here don't like teal? Most people like teal. Teal's a good color. So positive implications again: communication, clarity, calmness, inspiration, self-expression, healing. Yeah. Some of the negative ones: unreliable. I guess, for a lack of better words, aloofness, like when you just kind of don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. It can be kind of conveyed in that way a little bit. Buffy says, I have various shades of teal and turquoise all throughout my house. I love that. I used to. Courtney and I used to too. Teal used to be heavy in our house, and then we kind of transitioned away. That went more gray, but I love the color teal. I think teal is my wife's favorite color. Teal's a good color. Kenyatta, good morning to you, girl. Thanks for coming in. I'm trying to think of some teal brands, like some teal colors. I can't think of one. When I think of that color tone, I automatically go to all the blues. Anybody, if you guys can think of some teal, some primary brands that use teal as their primary or turquoise as their primary, drop those in the chat. I can't think of any that are teal. But that's teal. Turquoise, great color, great primary as well as a great secondary color. Purple shades are my favorite. I love purple as well. Let's go to purple since we're talking about it. So purple is a spectacular color. Purple kind of lands at the intersection of red and blue. It's an intriguing balance of masculine and feminine traits, which is why sometimes it can be used in a men's brand or in a women's brand. Teal is a great color. It can be warm, but it can also be cool, which is kind of cool. The blending of the calmness of blue and then the stimulation of red can be visually irritating unless the dominance of one or the other is clear. So be aware of that, because the funny thing about purple is that it can really blend. You can go from a lavender to a deep violet, right? So there's just all these different tones that land in there. And one of the things you'll find is that if you're on the high end or the low end, where you're more purple or you're more blue, it's a very comfortable color to look at. But if you get right into the middle, where you can't decipher what the dominant color is, so if it's almost like an equal part blue and red, it can be visually irritating. And I think it becomes visually irritating because your psyche is trying to identify, is this the calmness of blue, or am I being stimulated by red? which one is the dominant there. So you gotta be careful with the tone of purple that you use to make sure that the dominant, whether it's red or whether it's blue, can be deciphered without trying to strain your eyes to figure that out. But reddish purple it can be very much emotionally warm, very, very comforting. Purple is the color of royalty, which I love. That's why a lot of my girls that I do branding for use purple, because purple is the color of royalty, wealth. Purple can also represent bravery. It can represent luxury. Like, I'm all about that luxury. And sophistication. It's among the rarest colors in nature because you're thinking about this, is just no natural. There's not a lot. I'm not gonna say there's no, but there's not a lot of natural things in nature that are purple. And so because of that, it can also come across as custom. But then on the flip side of that, it can also be presented as artificial because it's not a natural color. So just be aware of that. Some positive implications of purple: wisdom, luxury, wealth. Spirituality is another big one with purple. Imaginativeness or imagination, sophistication, creative or creativity, wisdom. Yeah, a lot of women's groups are using purple. Yeah, purple is a popular color in the women. Some of the negative implications would be suppression, inferiority, extravagance, moodiness. You just think about some of the feelings that some people may have with their association with purple. So, for example, if certain tones of purple can be associated with spirituality, you might have other people that had a bad experience with spirituality, and so they may view it as oppression or inferiority. So it all depends on people's experience. It all depends on the psychological factors that tie into what they see and what they feel when they see that color. Purple's a great color, though. Very powerful color to use, especially when you're really wanting to tie into thoughts about wisdom, luxury, wealth. Yeah. Think about some purple brands. I think Culver's, if I recall. Culver's, I think, is purple. I think Hallmark uses purple. Yahoo uses purple. Taco Bell uses purple, but it's kind of almost like a purple, like a dark blue color, I think, if I recall. I can't think of a lot of. Welch's grape juice, purple. That's purple. Let's talk about magenta. I wasn't sure whether to throw magenta in here or not, but magenta is necessary because if people that want to do red but don't want to go all straight red, tend to go to more of a magenta because it's a little softer, a little more feminine. So not quite red, not quite purple. Magenta is very much its own hue with a slew of distinct and psychological features. Magenta is a color of emotional balance and physical harmony. So it's sophisticated, but it's also warm. Magenta can convey compassion, support, kindness. It's associated with feelings of self-respect, contentment. Magenta is another transformation type color, suggesting the releasing of the old and the embracing of the new, which I love that. Ken Kuhn, thanks for coming in, sir. So magenta, very, very good color, very, very popular color. Magenta retains a certain level of boldness from red, so it can be conveyed as outrageous or shocking or innovative and imaginative. So depending on how it's used, it is well suited to those of you guys who are creatives, because magenta is usually associated with creativity and with kind of boldness, imaginativeness, some of the positive things: passion, transformation, creativity, innovation, balance. Some of the negative implications that come along with magenta would be outrageousness, nonconformity, impulsiveness. Not much though, man. It really all depends on people's experience with it. Overall, magenta is usually very, very well received and is usually a very, very good color. Anybody using magenta? I can't think of any brands that are using magenta. Any big ones? Feel free to drop them in the chat room if you can think of any. Magenta is a great color, though. Seems like there's another word for magenta. Maroon? I don't think maroon's the same thing. Maroon's a little darker. Magenta is that nice blend of red and purple. Very, very good color. Very popular color. Often used in branding and in marketing. Let's go to black. Black. I love black. Anybody else love black? I love black. Not everybody likes black. But black is an interesting color to use because black is a total absorption of all color. All right, that fact alone has profound psychological factors to it. So Tony says, I guess I should stick with basic colors. Yeah, magenta is like a blend between purple and red, kind of almost like a maroon color, but a little more bold than maroon. But black again, total absorption of color, so that alone makes it a power color. Black is a symbol of power. Black also stands for sophistication, strength, seriousness. Black is considered to be timeless. Black is effortlessly stylish. Like anybody else just look good in black. Like you can wear anything, but if it's black, you just look good in it. I love black. I look good in black probably because I'm such a ginger. But I love wearing black. A lot of my wardrobe is black. Obviously, I drive a black SUV. I love black. Black looks good on me, and I look good on black. But I love black. You think about little black dress, all the different things that black has become known for. But black tends to be effortlessly stylish. It's hard to go wrong with black. Black also complements with just about every color on the color wheel, man. You can tie black with just about anything and it'll look good. So positive. Before I go this, I'll think of a couple of the things that stand out with black from a negative perspective, where you got to be careful. Is black is the iconic symbol of mourning. So when someone passes away, everybody wears black, right? So there is definitely a strong psychological factor with that. Because if someone's lost a loved one recently, that black can trigger memories of loss, right? So you got to be careful with that one. Black is worn by priests usually, but it's also worn by villains. So it can imply submission to a higher power, or it can imply just plain evil, which is why it must be used carefully in branding. You gotta be careful how much black you use, where you use it, and what your message is when you're using it. So positive implications of black: seriousness, warmth, stability, reliability, support, sophistication, strength, power, timelessness, style, wealth, abundance. Black can represent a lot. Negative implications of black would be heaviness, oppression, sadness, evil. Evil's associated with black, right? So think about those things. I think about a couple different logos that use black. Like the first one that stands out to me is Nike. The Nike swoosh is just a black swoosh. It's been their brand color from the very beginning. I think other people that use black. Anybody else think of a black logo? I can't think of people that just use black, just straight black. Drop it in the chat room if you can think about it. So that's black. Let's keep rolling, guys. We've been going for a while. I think I got brown, gray, white. Got 3 left for you. Brown, gray, and white. Thank you, Disney. Yep, Disney, absolutely. So let's talk about brown, the color psychology around brown. Not too many people use brown. Well, brown can be a powerful color to use. Brown is made up of blended hues of red and yellow, with a large percentage being black. So for this reason, it conveys much of the same seriousness as black, but with a warmer, softer tone. Brown is sturdy. Brown is reliable, the color of the earth and of nature. It has the dependability and the authenticity of wood or of rich leather, and is more often among the preferred colors of men than women. Not a lot of women use brown, but men, it's a powerful color for men. Brown has a kind of some quiet, supportive overtones to it. It can be also sad and wistful, but at heart, it's very much a practical color. Brown can be sophisticated if it's used wisely, but brown can represent seriousness, warmth, earthiness, reliability, authenticity, class. I think some of the negative ones that stand out with brown: heaviness, sadness, dirtiness, lack of sophistication. If someone views black as a heavily sophisticated color, then they may look down a bit on brown. So just think about that one. Not a lot wrong to do with brown. Brown's just more of a safe color, and it's got to be used carefully because brown can just look dirty if it's not used in the right way. Let's talk about gray. One of my favorite colors. How many of y'all like gray? I love gray. I love gray, love gray, love gray, love gray. My entire house and the interior of my house is painted gray. I love gray. Gray is an amazing color. Pure gray is the one color on the color wheel that has been shown to have no dominant psychological characteristics, which is interesting. But that doesn't mean that it's not powerfully suggestive. Gray is modern. Gray is sophisticated. It is a hue that has worked well for technology and luxury brands alike. If you use gray in a skillful way, it can evoke power. It can evoke sophistication. It can evoke excellence. It is a crisp slate on which bold colors will thrive. Gray is the color of ominous, powerful weather, right? Which can kind of cloak over the existence of color rather than the absence of it. It has a profound effect on the colors around it, which is why one of the reasons why I love gray. Because if you use gray, and if you use gray in the right way, it brings your primary colors to life and really makes them stand out. It works both to balance tones and to establish some negative space in lieu of white. So if you don't really want to use white so much, gray is an excellent secondary color, and I use gray a ton. I have a lot of gray on my website, and I use gray really in lieu of white. One of my favorites. Again, my colors are red, black, and gray. Love gray, love silver. I think of some of the gray. I think of Apple. Apple uses kind of a silver grayish look for their brand. Mercedes uses silver grayish tones. Love gray. Gray is a great color. So overall with gray, timelessness, neutrality, reliability, balance, intelligence, strength, modern, sophistication, can be calming. Can be calming. Some of the negative implications of gray can be blandness, lack of energy, maybe. Lack of confidence, maybe. I guess depends on how it's received. But not a lot to do wrong with gray. Gray is a great color. Love gray. Can work great as a primary, and it can work great as an accent. All right. Your last one, white. Let's talk about white, the powerful white color. So where black is an absorption of all light and the embodiment of all color, white is the reflection and absence of color. So for this reason, it's long been a symbol of purity and innocence. The color white's association with marriage and with wedding dresses is very impactful. Purity, right? White is also very modern, though. White's leveraged by Apple. Very sleek style. Again, Mercedes has grays and whites in theirs. White is the most minimal of all the colors and also creates a heightened perception of space, which is why it's popular in website design. So when you're designing a website, you want to have a lot of, let's say, want to have a lot of white space so that the website really flows. So white is very popular and can give the presence of space. You ever take a room that maybe is full color and then you paint the entire room white? What happens? It makes the room feel a lot bigger, right? And what happens if you walk into a room that's all white and it feels, I guess some of the negative implications is it can feel cold. It can feel empty. I think if you go into a house that's all white with no furniture, if the whole room is white and then you paint the room a color that's your color, it brings the room down and makes it feel a little bit more warm. So white can represent sterility. It can represent coldness. It can represent isolation. It can represent emptiness. But it also can represent cleanliness, clarity, purity, simplicity, sophistication, freshness, purity. Did I say purity? Purity. Sleek, style, space. That's white. So those are your 12 colors, y'all. I think I went through all 12 of those. Interesting conversation, right? Did you guys learn something today? So again, when I go back to my own colors, red, black, silver. So my red, energy, bold, excitement, trustworthy. Black is sophistication, trust, strength, loyalty. Gray, modern, sleek, styling. So you can see these colors and why I chose these colors for myself. So it's a fun conversation talking about this, y'all, but just I did this today to educate and to really bring clarity around the colors that you are choosing for your brand, or the colors that you are considering choosing for your brand, to make sure that whatever it is that you choose, you understand how those colors are going to be received. Right? I'm gonna leave you with that for today, guys. Hopefully that was a good one for you. If you enjoyed that, feel free to share it out to the people that you think may want to check it out. Feel free to tag anybody in the chat stream that you think may want to watch it, guys. I appreciate your time and attention. I know 54 minutes of your time is so incredibly valuable, so I appreciate you spending your time with me this morning. Guys, have a spectacular day. Be intentional with your time today. Be intentional with that talent that you have. Get about your goals, and I will see you guys all around the web. Right? Take care. God bless. I'll see y'all later.